And we are live.
Yay! Don't adjust your eyes or the screen. I am wearing the exact same clothes as last Monday that had made their trip all the way from the Bahamas to me. Um, and I, in the process, have given my son, Krista Crow, a new nickname. And we've heard of the Bootstraps Bill off of Pirates of the Caribbean. I've named Chris Boat Germs Bill because he got my ass sick last week.
Speaking of Chris, he's waving from the wall.
I know he is. He's probably mad at me for telling that. I'm sorry. I thought it was funny.
Well, you
But
could worse. You could call him Typhoid Mary, I suppose.
yeah, well, in honor of that,
Simply
I wore
exists.
my my germ ridden clothes from the Bahamas uh in honor of being sick last week. Sorry about that, y'all. Me, the wife, and it was not a very nice sickness. So, but we're back. I'm here, and what way to start the week off with the Arya chapter?
Yeah, yeah. Storm 65, Arya 12. A wolf with a fish in its mouth? They made her laugh. That would look silly. She could feel the hole inside her every morning when she woke. It wasn't hunger, though sometimes there was that too.
Oh, wait.
I know, you never introduced yourselves. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just thought that I am old new dude. He is.
Richard York, Asher's two-born son.
Okay, now you talk.
When you start over?
Yeah.
All right. She could feel the hole inside her every morning when she woke. It wasn't hunger, but sometimes there was that too. It was a hollow place, an emptiness where her heart had been, where her brothers had lived and her parents. Her head hurt too. Not as bad as it had at first, but still pretty bad. Arya was used to that though, and at least the lump was going down. The hole inside her stayed the same. The hole will never feel any better, she told herself when she went to sleep. So there's a couple things there. She's literally a lumpy head now. Anyway,
Exactly.
hello, family, says Mother Roy.
Hey, mother.
And, and of course, the hole in her heart is supposed to remind us a little bit of Catelyn's heart having turned to stone, right?
Yeah.
Some mornings, Arya did not want to wake at all. She would huddle beneath her cloak with her eyes squeezed shut and try to will herself back to sleep. If the hound would only have left her alone, she would have slept all day and all night. Dreamed. That was the best part, the dreaming. She dreamed of wolves most every night. A great pack of wolves with her at the head. She was bigger than any of them, stronger, swifter, faster. She could outrun horses and outfight lions. When she bared her teeth, even men would run from her. Her belly was never empty long, and her fur kept her warm, even when the wind was blowing cold. And her brothers and sisters were with her, many and more of them, fierce and terrible and hers. They would never leave her. But if her nights were full of wolves, her days belonged to the dog. Sandor Clegane made her get up every morning, whether she wanted to or not. He would curse at her in his raspy voice, or yank her to her feet and shake her. Once he dumped a helm full of cold water all over her head. She bounced up sputtering and shivering and tried to kick him, but he only laughed. Dry off and feed the bloody horses, he told her, and she did. They had two now, Stranger and the sorrel palfrey mare Arya had named Craven, because Sandor said she'd likely run off from the twins the same as them. He'd found her wandering riderless through a field the morning after the slaughter. She was a good enough horse, but Arya could not love a coward. Stranger would have fought. Still, she tended the mare as best she knew. It was better than riding double with the hound. Craven might have been a coward, but she was young and strong as well. Arya thought that she might be able to outrun Stranger if it came to it. The hound no longer watched her as closely as he had. Sometimes he did not seem to care whether she stayed or went. He no longer bound her up in a cloak at night. One night I'll kill him in his sleep, she told herself, but she never did. One day I'll ride away on Craven, and he won't be able to catch me, she thought, but she never did that either. Where would she go? Winterfell, she thought, but she never did that. Uh, Winterfell was gone. Her grandfather's brother was at Riverrun, but he didn't know her, no more than she knew him. Maybe Lady Smallwood would take her in at Acorn Hall, but maybe she wouldn't. Besides, Arya wasn't even sure she could find Acorn Hall again. Sometimes she thought she might go back to Sharna's inn if the floods hadn't washed it away. She could stay with Hot Pie, or maybe Lord Barrett would find her there. Anguy would teach her to use a bow, and she could ride with Gendry and be an outlaw like Wenda the White Fawn in the songs. But that was just stupid, like something Sansa might dream. Hot Pie and Gendry had left her just as soon as they could, and Lord Beric and the outlaws only wanted to ransom her, just like the Hound. None of them wanted her around. They were never my pack, not even Hot Pie and Gendry. I was so stupid to think so, just a stupid little girl and no wolf at all. So that actually might not be true because just like the Hound doesn't really have anywhere to take her, neither with the outlaws.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she stayed with the Hound. They rode every day, never sleeping twice in the same place, avoiding towns and villages and castles as best they could. Once she asked Sandor Clegane where they were going. Away, he said. That's all you need to know. You're not worth spit to me now, and I don't want to hear your whining. I should have let you run into that bloody castle. You should have, she agreed, thinking of her mother. You'd be dead if I had. You ought to thank me. You ought to sing me a pretty little song the way your sister did. Did you hit her with an axe, too? I hit you with the flat of the axe, you stupid little bitch. If I hit you with the blade, there'd still be chunks of your head floating down the green fork. Now shut your bloody mouth. If I had any sense, I'd give you to the Silent Sisters. They cut the tongues out of girls who talk too much. That wasn't fair of him to say. Aside from that one time, Arya hardly talked at all. Whole days passed, but neither of them said anything. She was too empty to talk, and the Hound was too angry. She could feel the fury in him. She could see it on his face, the way his mouth would tighten and twist, the looks he gave her. Whenever he took his axe to chop some wood for a fire, he would slide into a cold rage, hacking savagely at the tree or the deadfall or the broken limb. They had 20 times as much kindling and firewood as they needed. Sometimes he would be so sore and tired afterward that he would lie down and go right to sleep without even lighting a fire. Arya hated it when that happened. Hated him, too. Those were the nights when she stared the longest at the axe. It looks awfully heavy, but I bet I could swing it. She wouldn't hit him with a flat either. Sometimes in their wanderings, they glimpsed other people. Farmers in their fields, swineherds with their pigs, the milkmaid leading a cow, a squire carrying a message down a rutted road. She never wanted to speak to them either. It's as if they lived in some distant land and spoke a queer alien tongue. They had nothing to do with her or her with them. Besides, it wasn't safe to be seen. From time to time, columns of horsemen passed down the winding farm roads, twin towers of freight flying before them. Hunting for stray Northmen, the Hound said when they had passed. Anytime you hear hooves, get your head down fast. It's not like to be a friend. One day, in an earthen hollow made by the roots of a fallen oak, they came face to face with another survivor of the twins. The badge on his breast showed a pink maiden dancing in a swirl of silk. He told them he was Sir Mark Piper's man, a bowman, though he'd lost his bow. His left shoulder was all twisted and swollen where it met his arm. A blow from a mace, he said, broken his shoulder and smashed his chainmail deep into his flesh. A Northman it was, he wept. His badge was a bloody man, and he saw mine and made a jape, red man and pink maiden. Maybe they should get together. I drank to his Lord Bolton. He drank to Sir Mark, and we drank together to Lord Edgar and Lady Rossum, the King of the North. Then he killed me. His eyes were fever bright when he said that, and Arya could tell that it was true. His shoulder was swollen grotesquely, and pus and blood had stained his whole left side. There was a stink to him, too. He smells like a corpse, and begged him for a drink of wine. If I had any wine, I'd have drunk it myself, the Hound told him. I can give you water and the gift of mercy. The archer looked at him for a long while before he said, You're Joffrey's dog. My own dog now. Do you want the water? Aye, the man swallowed. And the mercy, please. They had passed a small pond a short ways back. Sandor gave Arya his helm and told her to fill it, so she trudged back to the water's edge. Blood swished over the toe of her boots. She used the dog's head as a pail. Water ran out through the eye holes, but the bottom of the helm still held a lot. When she came back, the archer turned his face up and she poured the water into his mouth. He gulped it down as fast as she could pour. What he couldn't gulp ran down his cheeks, brown blood that crusted his whiskers, until pale pink tears dangled from his beard. When the water was gone, he clutched the helm and licked the steel. Good, he said. I wish it was wine, though. I wanted wine. Me too. He eased his dagger into the man's chest almost tenderly, the weight of his body driving the point through his surcoat, ringmail, and the quilting beneath. As he slid the blade back out and wiped it on the dead man, he looked at Arya. That's where the heart is, girl. That's how you kill a man. That's one way. Will we bury him? Why? Sandor said. You don't care. We've got no spade. Leave him for the wolves and wild dogs. Your brothers and mine. He gave her a hard look. First we rob him, though. There were 2 silver stags in the archer's purse and almost 30 coppers. His dagger had a pretty pink stone in the hilt. The hound hefted the knife in his hand and flipped it toward Arya. She caught it by the hilt, slid it through her belt, and felt a little better. It wasn't needle, but it was steel. The dead man had a quiver of arrows, too, but arrows weren't much good without a bow. His boots were too big for Arya and too small for the hound, so those they left. She took his kettle comb as well, even though it came down almost past her nose, so she had to tilt it back to see. You must have had a horse as well, or you wouldn't have got away, the man said, peering about. But it's bloody well gone, I'd say. No telling how long he's been here. By the time they found themselves in the foothills of the Mountains of the Moon, the rains had mostly stopped. Arya could see the sun and moon and stars, and it seemed to her that they were heading eastward. Where are we going? She asked again. This time the hound answered her. You haven't answered the Eyrie. Might be she'll want to ransom your scrawny arse, though the gods know why. Once we find the high road, we can follow it all the way to the bloody gate. Aunt Liza, the thought left her empty. It was her mother she wanted, not her mother's sister. She didn't know her mother's sister any more than she knew her great uncle Blackfish. She should have gone into the castle. They didn't really know that her mother was dead, or Rob either. It wasn't like they'd seen him die or anything. Maybe they were afraid of just taking him captive. Maybe they were chained up in his dungeon. Maybe the phrase was taking him to King's Landing so that Joffrey could chop their heads off. They didn't know. We should go back, she suddenly decided. We should go back to the twins and get my mother. She can't be dead. We have to help her. I thought your sister was the one with a head full of songs, the hound growled. Frey might have kept your mother alive to ransom, that's true. There's no way in seven hells I'm going to pluck her out of this castle by my bloody self. Not by yourself. I'd come too. He made a sound that was almost a laugh. That will scare the piss out of the old man. You're just afraid to die, she said scornfully. Now Clegane did laugh. Death don't scare me, only fire. Now be quiet, or I'll cut your tongue out myself and save the Silent Sisters the bother. It's the veil for us. Arya didn't think he'd really cut her tongue out. He was just saying that the way Pink Eye used to say he'd beat her bloody. All the same, she wasn't going to try him. Senator Clegane was no Pink Eye. Pink Eye didn't cut people in half and hit them with axes, not even with the flat of axes. That night she went to sleep thinking of her mother and wondering if she should kill the hound in his sleep and rescue Lady Catelyn herself. When she closed her eyes, she saw her mother's face against the back of her eyelids. She's so close, I could almost smell her.
I wonder how many of the nights that she chooses not to hurt him, it's divine intervention as far as
It could be. And it's weird that it almost sounds like divine intervention when she's talking about wanting to go back, but people do actually just sometimes have their own ideas.
yeah. Well, I mean, she is young. I mean,
Yeah.
she's told herself the truth. The hole's there for a reason. For a lot of that you just read, she's mirroring the hound a lot in her
Yeah.
actions, not wanting to talk to anybody, just
Yep.
pretty much being miserable, which I mean she's got a right to be. But I think there's probably going to be a lot of the nope, I better not do that. Nope, I better not do that. As far as trying to kill the hound.
Yeah.
And I think slowly, just like Hot Pie and Gendry, everybody that's around her uh, tends to start liking her.
Yeah.
She's a very likable person.
I think that's true. She's so close I could almost smell her. And then she could smell her. The scent was faint beneath the other smells, beneath moss and mud and water and the stench of rotting reeds and rotting men. She padded slowly through the soft ground with River's edge, lapped up a drink, and lifted her head to sniff. The sky was gray and thick with cloud, the river green and full of floating things. Dead men clogged the shallows, some still moving as the water pushed them, others washed up on the banks. The brothers and sisters swarmed around them, tearing at the rich, ripe flesh. The crows were there, too, screaming at the wolves and filling the air with feathers. Their blood was hotter, and one of her sisters had snapped at one as it took flight, caught it by the wing. It made her want to crow herself. She wanted to taste the blood, hear the bones crunch between her teeth, fill her belly with warm flesh instead of cold. She was hungry and meat was all around, but she knew she could not eat. To eat would be an abomination.
The more she talks about that she loves the dreams, the wolf dreams, and she's doing it a lot and a lot and a lot and a lot. And the more she does it, the more she acts like the hound.
Yep. The scent was stronger now. She pricked her ears up and listened to the grumbles of her pack. shriek of angry crows, the whir of wings and sounds of running water and sound of running water. Somewhere far off she could hear horses, the calls of living men. They were not what mattered. Only the scent mattered. She sniffed the air again. There it was. Now she saw it too. Something pale and white drifting down the river, turning where it brushed against a snag. The reeds bowed down before it. Captain the Great, heir to the kingdom, confirmed. Usually I'm joking when I say that, but I do think this is deliberate. The female power theme in the Will chapter was deliberate. The pattern of never telling the plan if it goes the way of the plan is deliberate. And the names of Catelyn the Great and Peter are deliberate. I really do think Cat is the heir Rob named, and this language is a deliberate hint right here.
I'm not going to argue anymore.
Do you agree?
It's possible.
She splashed noisily through the shallows and threw herself into deeper water, her legs churning. The current was strong, but she was stronger. She swam, following her nose. The river smells were rich and wet, but those were not the smells that fooled her. She paddled after the sharp red whisper of cold blood, the sweet cloying stench of death. She chased them as she had often chased a red deer through the trees, and in the end she ran them down, and her jaw closed around a pale white arm. She shook it to make it move, but there was only death and blood in her mouth. By now she was tiring, and it was all she could do to pull the body back to shore. As she dragged it up the muddy bank, one of her little brothers came prowling, his tongue lolling from his mouth. She had to snarl to drive him off, else he would have fed. Only then did she stop to shake the water from her fur. The white thing lay face down in the mud, dead flesh wrinkled and pale, cold blood trickling from her throat. Rise, she thought. Rise and eat and run with us. So Preston theorizes this thought of rise might contribute to the magic.
Oh, it's possible. Oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah. Now, you could argue that we know Harwin specifically was kind of willing her alive himself at the actual time of the magic. So, anyway.
It's funny that the rise, eat, and run with us as if Lady Stark was a wolf instead of a fish.
Yeah. The sound of horses turned her head. Men. They were coming from downwind, so she had not smelled them. But now they were almost here. Men on horses with flapping black and yellow and pink wings, and long, shiny claws in hand. Some of her younger brothers bared their teeth to defend the food they'd found, but she snapped them until they scattered. That was the way of the wild. Deer and hares and crows fled before wolves, and wolves fled from men. She had been in the cold white prize in the mud where she dragged it and ran, felt no shame. When morning came, the hound did not need to shout at Arya or shake her awake. She had woken before him for a change and even watered the horses. They broke their fast in silence until Sandor said, "This thing about your mother." "Doesn't matter," Arya said in a dull voice. "I know she's dead. I saw her in a dream." The hound looked at her a long time, then nodded. No more was said of it. They went on toward the mountains. So I don't know if Sandor believes in prophetic dreams, but I do know our author believes in ambiguous behavior.
Sandor doesn't know that he's a skin changer, does he? Okay.
In the higher hills, they came upon a tiny, isolated village surrounded by gray-green sentinels and tall blue soldier pines. Clegane decided to risk going in. "We need food," he said, "and a roof over our heads. They're not like to know what happened to the twins. With any luck, they won't know me." Villagers were building a wooden palisade around their homes. When they saw the breadth of the hound's shoulders, they offered them food and shelter and even coin for work. "If there's wine as well, I'll do it," he growled at them. In the end, he settled for ale and drank himself to sleep each night. His dream of selling Arya to Lady Arryn died there in the hills, though. "There's frost above us and snow in the high passes," the village elder said. "If you don't freeze or starve, the shadow cats will get you, or the cave bears. There's the clans as well. The Burn men are fearless since Timett One Eye came back from the war. And half a year ago, Gunthor, son of Gurn, led the Stonecrows down on a village not 8 miles from here. He took every woman and every scrap of grain and killed half the men. They have steel now, good swords, mail hauberks. They watch the high road. Stonecrows, the milkshakes, the Sons of the Mist, all of them. Might be you take a few with you, but in the end they kill you and make off with your daughter." "I'm not his daughter," Arya might have shouted if she hadn't felt so tired. She was no one's daughter now. She was no one. She hasn't even gotten to Bravos yet. She already thinks of herself as no one.
Yep.
Not Arya, not Liesel, not Nan, not Ari, nor Squab, not even Lumpyhead. She was only some girl who ran with the dog by day and dreamed of wolves by night. It was quiet in the village. They had beds stuffed with straw and not too many lice. Food was plain but filling. The air smelled of pines. All the same, Arya soon decided that she hated it. The villagers were cowards. None of them would even look at the hound's face if not for long. Some of the women tried to put her in a dress and make her do needlework. They weren't Lady Smallwood. She was having none of it. There was one girl who took to following her, the village elder's daughter. She was of an age with Arya, but just a child. She cried if she skinned a knee and carried a stupid cloth doll with her everywhere she went. The doll was made up to look like a man-at-arms, sort of, so the girl called him Sir Soldier, bragged how he kept her safe. Go away, Arya told her 100 times. Just leave me be. She wouldn't, though, so finally Arya took the doll away from her, ripped it open, and pulled the rag stuffing out of its belly with a finger. Now he really looks like a soldier, she said, before she threw the doll in a brook. After that, the girl stopped pestering her, and Arya spent her days grooming Craven and Stranger or walking in the woods. Sometimes she would find a stick and practice her needlework. Then she would remember what had happened to the twins and smash it against a tree until it broke. Don't let a Stark sister near your doll. Sweet Robin hasn't learned this lesson yet, but he will. Might be we should stay here a while, the hound told her after a fortnight. He was drunk on ale, but more brooding and sleepy. We'd never reach the Eyrie, and the Freys will still be hunting survivors in the Riverlands. Sounds like the need sports here with these clansmen raiding. We can rest up. Maybe find a way to get a letter to your aunt. Arya's face darkened when she heard that. She didn't want to stay, but there was nowhere to go either. The next morning, when the hound went off to chop down trees and haul logs, she crawled back in. When the work was done and the tall wooden palisade was finished, the village owner made it plain that there was no place for them. Come winter, we'll be hard pressed to feed our own, he explained. And you, a man like you, brings blood with him. Sam's mouth tightened. So you do know who I am. We don't get travelers here. That's so. We go to market, to fairs. You know Joffrey's dog. When these stone crows come calling, you might be glad to have a dog. Might be. The man hesitated and gathered up his courage. But they say you lost your belly for fighting at the Blackwater. They say, I know what they say. Sanders' voice sounded like two wood saws grinding together. Pay me and we'll be gone. So David Lightbringer thinks this is showing us the giants built the wall hoping to stay, but were forced outside the protection of the wall.
I like that.
When they left, the hound had a pouch full of coppers, a skin of sour ale, and a new sword. It's a very old sword, truth be told, though new to him. He swapped its owner the long axe he'd taken at the twins, when he used to raise the lump on Arya's head. The ale was gone in less than a day, but Clegane sharpened the sword every night, cursing the man he'd swapped with for every nick and spot of rust. He lost his belly for fighting, why does he care if his sword is sharp? It's not a question Arya dared ask him, but she thought on it a lot. Was that why he'd run from the twins and carried her off? Back in the Riverlands, they found the rains had ebbed away and the floodwaters had begun to recede. Hound turned south, back toward the Trident. We'll make for River Run, he told Arya as they roasted a hare and killed. Maybe the Blackfish wants to buy himself a she-wolf. He doesn't know me. He won't even know really me. Arya was tired of making for River Run. She'd been making for River Run for years, it seemed, without ever getting there. Every time she made for River Run, she ended up someplace worse. He won't give you any ransom. He'll probably just hang you. He's free to try, returned the spit. He doesn't talk like he's lost his belly for fighting. I know where we could go, Arya said. She still had one brother left. John will believe me, even if no one else does. He called me little sister and lost my hair. It's a long way, though. She didn't think she could get there by herself. She hadn't even been able to reach River Road. Could go to the wall. Sanders' laugh was half a growl. The little wolf bitch wants to join the Night's Watch, does she? My brother's on the wall, she said stubbornly. His mouth gave a twitch. The wall's 1,000 leagues from here. We'd need to fight through the bloody frays just to reach the neck. There's lizard lions in those swamps that eat wolves every day for breakfast. And if we did reach the north with our skins intact, there's Ironborn in half the castles and thousands of bloody buggering Northmen as well. Are you scared of them? She asked. Have you lost your belly for fighting? For a moment, she thought he was going to hit her. By then, the hair was brown, though, skin crackling and grease popping as it dripped down into the cook fire. Sandra took it off the stick, lifted it apart with his big hands, and tossed half of it into Arya's lap. There's nothing wrong with my belly, he said as he blew off the head. But I don't know rat's arse for you or your brother. I have a brother, too. So he's literally lying about not giving a rat's arse for her brother. I mean, in fact, he literally just gave a rabbit and more than just the arse to Arya.
Was it the arse of the rabbit?
but he is somewhat obsessed with his brother. Up next, Storm 66, Tyrion 9. Not as your judge, as your champion.
Yeah, it's a good chapter too.
Yep.
I like this. She is kind of along the same lines as Rickon, with she doesn't have someone teaching her the ways of the skin changer, or the ways of the war. She's just she every night is the wolf dreams. She's looking forward to the wolf dreams. She's probably spending all night in the wolf itself. So I mean, by not having somebody to teach her, um, I think she's increasing her powers just from doing it repeatedly over and over and over again. Um, uh, and plus, with the increased distance between her and the wolves when she hits the mountains of the moon with the little small town, and then we'll see, of course, when she goes across to Bravos, that she can go even farther. Which I've pointed out to Lady Thistle, that I believe that they use the moon as a reflector, because line of sight, the curvature of the planet. If you're here and somebody's over there, you got the curvature of the planet stopping you from being able to see directly a straight line. And so I don't know if their powers would be able to.
The question is to the for too.
He got it from me. But she had asked about the 3 days of the new moon, and why Arya went and to the House of Black and White during the 3 days of the new moon. And I'm like, it's because there's no moon to bounce signals off of, so that's when they come in to manually give information and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it does seem like George finally figured out the moon one. Start with the storm swords, right? I'm pretty sure he actually has the half moon be high in the sky at dawn. So I think he kind of does understand. I think he definitely didn't understand the first book or two.
How that was on purpose.
No, I don't think so. I think he literally.
Well, it's true. I mean, now we're told it's not a wobble, or is it? It is a wobble. It's not science based. It's magical based.
People have asked him that. He said it's magic. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so it could be magical based, with a scientific leaning name. I mean, then of course you got the 3 body problem. I mean, we don't know if that's part of it or something to that effect, or a 2 body problem.
Let's do this. Let's speak more. I can find it.
Have you seen 3 body problem?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I watched it before I realized it was D&D.
Oh really?
Yeah, I'm like, oh gee, now I know why they have so many people from Game of Thrones in there.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they're really good at, especially the first season of television shows, right?
Oh yeah, they want to get picked up, and I mean that's the emphasis is to have a continual paycheck. So yeah, they're really good at the first couple.
Anyway,
that source material is complete, though, I think.
Do we want to talk about the finale of House of the Dragon?
Yeah, definitely want to give everybody the
well, ample warning, and then discuss it some.
Yeah, so if you don't want to know anything about House of the Dragon, now's the time to leave.
So
we inadvertently ruined things in the past for
other things.
Just blurting it out because we get excited about talking about it.
So, I mean, the first thing we should say is that it certainly shows that the showrunners had written 10 scripts for 10 episodes and then been told that they could only do 8, and that they weren't allowed to have any writers. That does show. I think given those limitations, it's a pretty good season of television.
Yeah.
Um, the you know as I've said that one of the things that Ryan Connell's on a mission to do is to. I'm starting to wonder how he's going to do Stoneheart. But anyway, he's 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 on a mission to insert the things that were lacking from Game of Thrones, right? And we've talked about in the past that
Was
Sansa.
the Green Man and the Green Man at Harrenhal, was that a nod to the failed pilot Blood Moon, possibly?
Maybe I think it's because the Green Men are there, and I think it's Adam that's supposed to go to them in later, in presumably later seasons here. Um, it might be Adam. There are rumors that Daemon survives the epic battle and goes to the Isle.
Right.
So and maybe he's the where they can do Stoneheart, right? Is he can maybe he can have the Green Man revive him and something resembling whatever John's resurrection is supposed to look like in um, in Winds, and then maybe with him then acting more like Lady Stoneheart afterwards or something. I don't know. I'm just speculating here because he sure is on a mission to insert things they're missing from Game of
Right.
Thrones. Um,
Well, my question is now I do know what happens at the God's Eye. I do know the Aemon One Eye and Damon. All right. I always figured that somebody survived for the simple fact that don't they both have the Valyrian steel swords, Blackfire and Dark Sister, but don't they show up later in Targaryen history? 'Cause you have the Blackfires.
yes. Well, I don't know about Blackfire, but I mean Blackfire. Well, obviously Blackfire's in history. Blackfire's we haven't gotten to the part where Blackfire rebellions happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And Aemon is wielding it, right?
And I don't know, maybe, but we do know that Bloodraven actually does have Dark Sister, right? So
Well, that's the theory.
so as I recall, Dark Sister was found in Aemon. So they found Aemon's corpse and Dark Sister impaled on Dark Sister,
Hmm.
but they couldn't find Daemon, and that's the speculation in the history that he wound up on the Isle of Faces.
I
So
can see that happening.
yeah, and given that we kind of need more resurrection, since that's missing, it would make sense for it. I guess Daemon is the most logical person for them to insert an extra resurrection in.
All right. With certain similarities to the current story.
Oh, they could have a wolf drag his corpse out to the Isle,
That would be nice.
right? Because the whole point of what they're missing is this. This is what they're missing.
Yeah.
How are they going to do Stoneheart? This is how they're going to do Stoneheart. They're going to have a wolf. Oh yeah, that's our prediction right now.
Yeah.
A wolf to drag Daemon to the Isle of Faces. That's our prediction.
Or fish.
Ah.
Wolf
Anyway.
dragging fish to shore. Never mind. The fish dragon.
Wolf fish in its mouth.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, the dead body gets revived by men of the woods in our story, because they're basically Robin Hood and the Merry Men. And then Damon gets revived by actual, truly men of the woods.
Yeah. I think that's our prediction right here.
Yep. All right. Agreed.
And then, although I think maybe Girls Gone Canon has already speculated on that. I think they did speculate that might be the case, but just saying that he's missing Stoneheart and that he needs to insert an extra resurrection, and if you could make it like Stoneheart, one way you could do that would be to have a wolf drag his body out of the water, right?
Now, with House of the Dragon similarities with A Song of Ice and Fire. Um, um, is Song of Ice and Fire going to have the Dance of Dragons?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
Well, we know that.
dragon against dragon.
Yeah, but we know that from sample chapters. That they strongly imply that that's coming. So there's a and this may be where Helena, part of where Helena comes from, is that there is a Dornish uh, girl who dreams prophetic dreams and says that she dreamed of the dance with dragons. Wherever the dragons dance, the people die.
Mm-hmm.
In sample chapters. So, so yeah, and that's an Ariane sample chapter, of course, because most of the clues that there's a second dance are in the chapter of the princess POV who tries to crown the queen, right? Queen Marcella and Princess Ariane, and we've got characters referred to as the princess and the queen. In the original history, this was called the Princess and the Queen, right? And he published first as a novella called The Princess and the Queen, and then as Fire and Blood. He expanded the novella. There was also a novella called The Rogue Prince, and we have one character who is very roguelike, who is a prince, which is Oberyn Martell, who is the sex-positive uncle that Ariane fantasizes about. The princess fantasizes about her sex-positive Targaryen-blooded uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really do have this, and we had one side try to crown the other side, but then it's going to turn around and try and crown Aegon, right? Mm-hmm. So it was a heck of a lot similar to the Princess and the Queen, although it's kind of backwards, and the person typically being referred to as the princess is the one who tried to crown the queen rather than the other way around. But George loves to do that, where he reverses things and has the things otherwise the same, but with one reversal like that. So I that's what part of what has led me to think that Marcella might actually ride a dragon, because it really should be Marcella against Aegon if it's really the princess and the queen.
But man, she does have Targaryen blood.
Yeah. See, Trouble Targaryens, episode 5.
All right, let's do the lineage. Okay, you have half Targaryen, half Lannister mother, half Targaryen, half Lannister father. That would make Marcella half Targaryen, half Lannister.
Right.
The same amount of blood, percentage-wise, and clarity that Cersei and Jaime have themselves. There's no diminishing their blood whatsoever as far as
so one thing he doesn't like is the dragons don't have the different breath weapon based upon their color, that they don't literally have the black dragons breathe black fire, for example.
Yeah, that would probably come in handy once things start getting a little hectic.
It would tell the dragons apart more easily if they were breathing the actual fire of their color.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. So some of the complaints you'll hear about this story are that prophecy robs characters of their agency, but they're trying to show we were talking about this before the stream went live. They're trying to show, as we've kind of hinted at earlier, a Targaryen prince in the history being shown visions and prophecies by a woods witch that then leads him to support a specific queen, which then leads to the giving birth to the prince that was promised, right? Or princess. And so they've done, so Daemon is basically Rhaegar. They're also showing us the younger of his two daughters chasing her dragon in the wilderness.
And that's where it ends.
And,
as soon as you said that before we started, I was like, you got me. Yeah, that's it right there.
Ends. And then when it feels like there should be building up to lots of battles, that the story ends there.
And then you gotta wait.
Episode 4, right? It's the younger daughter of Rhaegar Targaryen chasing her dragon in the wilderness, and boom, we're done. We're building up to all these battles, but we're done.
That's Danny and Drogo.
Yep, yep,
Drogon.
yep. So everything that people complain about, oh, what are they even doing with Rhaena? It's so slow. What are they're taking away agency by having this prophecy. And I'm like, it's all everything people complain about. It's always just a reference they're making to the books, like oh, it's so stupid that they're blockading the food and yet having the small folk like Rhaenyra when she gives them food. It's like that's literally Tyrion makes that same observation in the books. Like literally the character who was ruling in his older relative's place, who got his face cut off, right, observes that that the small folk are such fools for loving the queen when her side blockaded the food in the first place. Like it's literally right there, guys.
It's almost like that. I mean, everything that you didn't get to see in a Game of Thrones, you're getting to see in the House of the Dragon.
Right. Which is why I'm thinking Stoneheart is the one thing he really needs to do still.
Yeah, but I like your Damien as the Stoneheart figure on the Isle of Faces.
Well, again, that's really the Girls Gone Canon came up with that, but I'm becoming a believer because it feels like that he wants to do that, right? So the idea of him literally having a wolf drag his body to the Isle of Faces, and maybe he doesn't even have to show the resurrection at that point.
Mm-hmm.
No, he would. He probably would, right? He probably would show it.
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah.
Now, I got a quick question for you. Because I mean, like I said, after you told me about Hugh Hammers, I kind of looked ahead and Fire and Blood. Now Aegon's dragon is injured, and
believe dead, but probably not dead because we know what happens in season 3 of Game of Thrones, right?
What?
Oh, Game of Thrones, Joffrey specifically spoils the story for us, right? People tell you don't watch Game of Thrones if you're watching House of the Dragon because Joffrey will spoil the ending for you.
Okay, right? What does Joffrey say?
He says he fed his sister to his dragon. He says Aegon fed his sister to his dragon, sister Rhaenyra to his dragon.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, he specifically says it in Game of Thrones. So some people have gotten mad when their friends have been like, "Oh yeah, and if you like this, we gotta watch the original series," and then they start watching the original series, and they're like, people get mad at them because it spoils the ending.
Well, I mean, there's more going on than just that, though.
Oh, of course. I mean, besides which, they're doing so many things differently, and they're probably deliberately wanting to make people think they're not going to do it, right? And then it'll be a big surprise that Sunfire's still alive and so forth, right?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know all that, and I'm like, well, I wonder if Sunfire is the dragon in the Mountain of the Moons that the Burned Men worship.
Now, most people think that's Nettles.
Yeah.
And Sheep Stealer.
Yeah. Well, I'd heard that was the theory, but I'm like, okay, we got this dragon that was there and then now is not there anymore.
And I think it was Girls Gone Canon who were pointing out that it was, maybe it's Sister Westeros. I don't know, but anyway, somebody was pointing out that George specifically has dragons that like wander off and like one of them goes to Red Lake, I think, and just like decides that they like Red Lake, and in theory we have some dragon, probably Sheep Stealer at the Vale, wanting to go to the Vale and hang out for the rest of their life, right? And so
George says wild dragons don't hang out in the Vale.
I know, it doesn't make any sense. Especially if he's complaining about a wild dragon going to the Vale, because that appears to be what happens, right? Because I mean, probably Sheep Stealer outlives Nettles and just hangs out at the Vale. And but again, is it Silverwing that winds up going to Red Lake? Anyway, I can't remember. But anyway, the point is he's literally letting the dragons do the things he's complaining that they don't do.
Yeah. Well, he's probably mad that they didn't do the Nettles story.
Yeah, good. Because she represents some ambiguity about the idea that you might not need Targaryen blood, right?
Yeah. Um. He this weekend was Belfast, right? The Worldcon.
Oh, was it?
I'm asking. I don't know.
Oh, you might be right. Glasgow date. Yeah, August 8th to 12th. So yeah, you're right. That would be the last day.
Today would be the last day.
Yeah.
Oh, we might get something in.
Maybe. I mean, the fact that he's not on good terms with them is Elio actually posted on. Somebody was complaining about like, did George really just not fill out a form? And Elio was like, no, this is all BS. he was like, here's my. I don't have inside information on this. I haven't talked to George specifically about this, but here's what I think is going on. And he gave this big long response in a comment on Reddit saying that essentially that that there were some hard feelings between George and the Worldcon people, um, and that the real reason that he didn't fill out the form supposedly is because they're deliberately trying to be uh, kind of sticklers with him. Whereas that if they really wanted him there, they could have worked with his assistants and gotten it done.
Right. Oh, so he didn't go to Worldcon?
No, he's going just as an attendee.
Oh.
But that's the point. He doesn't really have much of a platform there.
Oh, okay. Or is it one of those things you really don't got anything to say, so why you gonna be here type thing?
Maybe, but I think it's more because there was some finger pointing one time with not that long ago, with like the last time he would participate with them,
Mhm.
back and forth, and hard feelings there.
Uh,
I don't think George has hard feelings. I think the organizers of the Worldcon have hard feelings.
no. Don't they know that he can just write their name on a page and they die?
He's in with the faceless men.
I'm telling you. I that was a long time since I watched that video with the Taylor Swift song, the George.
Oh, what?
It's a Taylor Swift parody that's basically being sung by George R. R. Martin.
Okay.
Uh,
George Note.
hmm.
And it would be what, like it's a late afternoon there now, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah, they're several hours ahead of us. So
I have a hard enough time figuring out the time zones in the United States. So,
okay.
yeah, I mean, I have no idea what time it is in California, that type of stuff. So,
Well, the point is, in California, it's earlier in Monday because the sun gets there later, right?
right. Yeah, but
So
that would be ours.
right, so the sun would be in Glasgow earlier, so it's several hours earlier there. When you see a time zone and it says -5 or whatever, that's a reference to how far off from Greenwich Mean Time we're talking about, right? Zulu time.
Mhm.
Well, one would think that Glasgow would be pretty close to Zulu time.
There is 24 time zones, correct?
No, there's actually quite a few more because there's
Oh,
places like India does a half time zone so that they can put everybody on the same time because the country is 2 time zones wide, so they do a half a time zone and just put the whole country on one time zone that way.
uh,
So there's things like that. There's like 30-minute, 15-minute time zones in places that want to do those kind of things.
hmm.
But in the concept, yeah, the concept would be that if you're moving around the world, you'd go 1 hour, 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 and then 23 the other direction, and then one, right? So there'd be 24 shifts that add up to 0 because you've got one that's -23 versus 1, right? For the international date line, which is like 23 hours the other direction. So the other 23 add up so that you wind up back where you started at 0, right?
You can lose a day, can't you?
Um, Sort of, but I mean, it's not really because each one of those times is different by that much to the point where, you experience the same amount of time. Like, well, okay, outside of relativity effects, you
Well, I mean, if
experience.
you're standing on this side of the zero timeline, and
Daylight.
yeah, or you're
Just
3 hours that way, you're waiting, and then on this side, it's now a brand new day. All you gotta do is just go back, and you skip the. I don't know.
that's the point, though. It's actually 21 1 hours in one direction and 23 the opposite direction than the other one, right? So it all adds up to zero. There's no flying around the world to make yourself go backwards thing. It doesn't work.
I want to de-age, man. I mean, you see the
I
gray?
used to,
You
I
see
used
the
to think
wrinkles?
you could do that. I thought that was the whole point of Superman, right? Is that, oh yeah, just go through the international date line so many times.
Man, I ain't even got to be 16.
No,
I mean, I'll
just
take 20.
go
I'll
the
take
direction.
28, 27. I'll take just the odd numbers. Anything in the low 30s,
Well,
I'm
that's
good.
my point. You actually are because you actually do it. What about Superman? He did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my point. That was what I thought as a kid. That must be what was going on there.
There
But I
you
think
go.
the idea is actually that he's supposed to be traveling faster than the speed of light, going back over some time relativity. So,
Yeah.
so
Looking at the remembering the movie, knowing that from here to the moon and back in the speed of light is about 3 seconds. The amount of times that you see Superman fly around the Earth, that he is traveling probably faster than the speed of light.
I think that's the idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And the only reason I say 3 seconds on the speed of light is I heard it on Three Bodies Problem.
Yeah, well, it's a little over a second from here to the moon, and so it'd be
Yeah. About
more
3 seconds there and back.
a little more than 2.5 to go there and back. Yeah.
Yeah. I was rounding up, man.
Yep.
I tried to seem smarter than I am. I don't read. I just watch movies.
Yeah, we don't read. We don't read on this. We don't read on this stream. No, we don't read.
No, we don't read on this stream. Well, I mean, I used to read ahead, and I'd read the chapter before we did the live stream, and it just, I don't know. I have my off days. I'm a little off today because I'm still, me and the wife are still recovering from last week. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice or not. But it just felt unnatural. It didn't. I mean, it just felt forced. Or I've tried scripts. I hate it. I like the freedom and the
Well,
spontaneity.
and half of my comments are basically scripted, and like half of them are just whatever comes to me on the spot, right?
Yeah. Well, see, I used to read your script before, and then I quit doing that, and I used to read along with your script, and then I quit doing that to where now I just follow along in the book. Now, don't get me wrong, I love having your script because it tells me which actual chapter and what number it is and all that stuff. But without that, I'd be lost. But I follow along in the book to where something catches my eye, something catches my ear that you said, or the expression in which you say it. Somebody, I never know what's going to trigger an idea, and I want the ideas to be, which with my memory, it's I want them to be genuine. I don't want it. I want it to be a genuine response to something that was said or something that's on the page in the time. Excuse me.
Yeah, works pretty well. All right, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, my throat's giving me. All right. We got who's that? Tyrion next?
Yes. Correct.
Yeah. Well, Arya and Tyrion, I mean, the two, the number one, number two characters in this story, in this book, as far as George is concerned. I think between him and his wife, those are their two favorite characters, right?
His wife also likes Sansa. There's some ambiguity as to whether he's only not allowed to kill Arya or whether he's also not allowed to kill Sansa.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she can't be right all the time. Her chapters are getting better. I've told it before; they're not my favorite to read, but as the story goes along, they're getting more interesting to read. So, but all right. Um, not having getting sick further this week. We'll see everybody on Friday.
Okay.
Give Chris the Crow a hard time for getting me sick. And y'all take care, be safe. Please don't get sick. It's not fun. And y'all be good. We will see y'all Friday. Have fun. Bye. Bye,
Have a good
Richard.
one.
Thanks.